Prompted by the vast amounts of tourism from the Western world, many groups of women have learned to mix the practicing of their traditions with entrepreneurship. The women of the Santiaguito Co-op and Lima have formed lucrative businesses where they sell their traditional textiles and demonstrate how they have been handmade for centuries. This sort of business tourism allows for both the conservation of tradition and the reinvestment of money in Guatemalan society for social good. But this happens at a price. As these women make money on their own, they threaten, for better or worse, the Guatemalan traditional family institution where the male fulfills the dominant role as the caregiver for the family. As the structure of a family institution that has been set in place for centuries shifts, resistance from those who fulfill dominant roles is inevitable. These women claimed that their husbands supported them. I, however, had a difficult time believing this. The motivation of the women of the Santiaguito Co-op is to earn money so that their children may receive proper schooling. How long will it take before older generations of men feel threatened by the education that younger generations of women are now receiving? Gender seems to determine everything in Indigenous societies. Indigenous men might have to realize that because women will now be able to receive an education and make their own money, they will no longer want to comply with the subordinate female gender role of Guatemalan society. The famous market of Chichicastenango exemplifies another case where traditional goods are made and then in turn sold for profit. Indigenous women and men sell customary masks, jewelry, textiles, paintings, and so much more. Still, Western influence is embedded in nearly every aspect of the market. Street vendors mutter broken English in order to try to get you to buy something. Tourists from all parts of the world wander around looking for the perfect souvenir. While I understand that these people have to make a living, I thought about whether or not the commercialization of Indigenous goods is causing more harm than good. While visiting the Cultural Museum at the coffee finca Azotea, we learned the significance of the masks and clothes used in Mayan religious dances. Today, are these masks meant to be used for customary ceremonies, just being hung up on the walls of market stores to be sold to tourists? Ultimately, we must realize that the imposition of Western ideals on Indigenous cultures is neither all good nor all bad. With an increase in globalization, it is simply an inevitable reality. The Mayan culture survived Spanish influence and domination, and personally, I do not see Western influence driving out all Mayan traditions either. On our last day in Guatemala City, I spotted graffiti that said, "Death to the Empire." I thought about what the writer was talking about, assuming he or she was referring to the death of the Mayan civilization. It struck me as ironic because through my eyes, the Indigenous cultures are a long way from being dead. The Indigenous people of Guatemala seem to be evolving with a changing world more than we give them credit for. Perhaps the Indigenous people of Guatemala are not dying, but growing stronger as influence increases from the Western world.